I want to ask about laying out the scores. Back when, I played like Adam and Pee Wee, like the scores would be in there. Like it wouldn't be like much of an article, but you'd see like Justin Belanger 1 assist or something like that. But there's so many games, so many sports. So how does that work on a weekly basis? Like that's a lot of information coming in.
It was, yeah. So that was like an entry level job, right? So you would literally take phone calls. Justin, 1 goal for, I don't know where you played, Halifax Hawks or whatever it was. And you'd have to type it in. And everything that came in, even back then, they would take stuff like bowling and ball hockey and harness racing. So it was like super time consuming, boring stuff. But, people would buy it and clip it out and save it,
So sorry to interrupt you, but are you calling them or are they calling you?
No, they call us. Call us.
So who calls, like the coach or like a mom on the team?
Usually, yeah. Well, I mean, we couldn't have people just calling in and faking it. So you're trying to make sure we would. Not me, but the editor would talk to the associations regularly and say, look, make sure it's somebody who's part of the program.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, we still get that with things like high school sports.
Yeah.
But mostly everything now is on the websites and we look it up. But back in those days, we had probably 10 or 12 people in our department. So,
it wasn't just you writing down the stats. It was other people helping you.
Yeah. And then, but you'd also, you've got to update everything and move it around, and the computers were so entry level, it would take like 10 times longer than it does now. So, this was 20 years ago, or no, 25 years ago. So, you're working on old technology, right?
The newspaper has always interested me in a couple facets. One of them was the cutoff time to print. Yeah. What time is the cutoff time to print? Well, when does all the info have to be in?
That's changed. Well, part of it's changed. When I first started, there were 3 deadlines. So the provincial paper, so if you live in Sydney or Yarmouth, we had to have that. Back then, we had to have it to the presses by 8:00. So it was really harsh for sports, right? Because nothing's over by then.
I never thought of that. Yeah,
all the scoreboard stuff was late, but people got used to it. People were used to it, and we still have to do that because we do truck it like all over the province.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
And then back then, the Metro edition was 1 a.m. So we got mostly everything. Yeah. And then if you go way back, there was the Mail Star, which was delivered in the afternoons around Halifax. So some shifts back then, I would have to stay until every single game, like on the West Coast, was over. So, be there till 4 a.m. sometimes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry. Okay.
So if you get a game like in LA that goes extra innings or something, you're there just praying that it ends soon because you're pretty tired by then, right?
So where are you? Just at home watching it on TV?
No, you'd be at the office.
Just be at the office.
I mean, that was barely internet days, right? So
I couldn't imagine.
It was terrible. I hated that. You're so tired. I would start work at 7:00 p.m. and then work till 4 a.m. most nights.
Did you have a family back then?
No. I was only 23 years old.
Oh, okay. So
it was
you're ready to grind.
Yeah.
You're like, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm the new guy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I had to do that for, I think about the better part of 2 years, almost 2 years. And then I took over the university beat in 97. So yeah, it was
cool.
Yeah, and then you get 2 years on that, and then straight to the Mooseheads from there.
Do you ever have people back then a little pissed off of you that maybe like an article isn't written in time? You're like, Willie, come on, where's that write up? Where's this? Where's that? Why isn't this here yet? How does that side of journalism work? Like who's waiting for your write up, or are you your own boss in that sense?
No, you can't be late. Like there's no lateness because the funny story is the first week I started, and this is in the old days when the building was on Argyle Street downtown. The Herald was across from where the shoe shop was. The entire block was the Chronicle Herald.
So, across from the Economy shoe shop?
Yeah, that whole block and the parking lots up for the old Midtown that we owned everything down there.
Really?
It's not where the convention center is now. They bought the land from the Herald to build that.
No way.
Yeah. So back then, the presses were inside the building.
Yeah.
And they didn't even have a Herald website because the internet was only a couple of years old. So the first week they bring you in. So I was, like I said, 23, and they take you upstairs, and somebody takes you on a tour, and they said, this is where, when we're done, there's these 15 people waiting to take what you write or you edit, and then we have to turn it into a printed page, basically. And then he took me down to where they make the plates for the printing presses, and said, these guys are waiting to make the plates. And then they took me into the presses where all the guys were running the presses, and it's like these 20 guys are waiting to print it
For you.
and and then they took me into where they bundle and package the papers and throw them on the trucks, and like these 30 people are waiting, and then these are all the truckers waiting, so you can't be late. So that was what they tell you. So it's not really an option to be late, because
That's how they put the pressure on you. They give you the tour of everything that's waiting for you to write up.
It was on purpose. It's like, you know, just so you know, like, and I mean, there are occasions when you'll communicate with the press room and say, look, game is ending late, so I'm going to need 15 minutes. And usually, you know, you work together, especially now. Like if I go all the way to the end of where we are now, the deadlines are a lot different now.
Yeah.
Our deadlines are 10 p.m. for the Metro edition. So
that's good.
Well, it's not great. It's better because, the provincial edition is still 8, but the Metro edition is 10. So when I go to a Mooseheads game, just to give you people an idea, on a good night it ends at 9:30. So it's got to be to the press guys by 10. So that gives you, I mean, you've been in the Metro Center press box. You got to get down. You got to get the kids out of the room. You got to interview them.
Yeah.
You got to type that up and send it. So you get about half an hour. So sometimes I'll ask for an extra 5 or 10 minutes, but it's, you know, you got to be organized, and you don't want overtime.
Well, I remember during the Mem Cup, when I was up there, I would watch you for like a couple minutes at a time, and I would look at your Twitter, and then I'd see you typing, but nothing would update on your Twitter. And I was like, what's he typing right now? And then it just kind of clicked in, he has to write his article as he's going throughout the game. So that's kind of when that whole thing clicked into me.
Yeah.
But is it difficult paying attention to the game while you're writing up a paragraph?
Well, the best thing that happened was when they put in the big screen at the scoreboard, because then you can see replays after. So it is harder, but you do get...
it's all coming to me now.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the old days, we'd have to ask each other, you know, you couldn't take your eyes off what was happening. Or if I go to a rink where they don't have a big screen, then I have to pay closer attention. So, and you kind of get used to it with the crowd noise and things. Like if it's played in the neutral zone, you know, you're not going to miss much. So or you're all right during the intermissions, or, you know, during whistles and things like that. But there's also a limit to what you can write. You know, you can't really write it till it's over. You don't know what the score is, right?
But I feel like that's just the ending. Like in the middle, can't you kind of...
You do a little bit, yeah. Like
you can kind of go with the flow.
A lot of it you can tell. I mean, if you're buying a newspaper, or even if you're getting on the internet, you try not to give people a lot of play-by-play or things like that, because, you know, that's something they've already seen. You're trying to build in like what the game means, maybe for the standings or for players who are on a streak or whatever it is. And these days, especially with how fast news gets out there, you have to kind of put the facts of the game a little bit later, if that makes any sense. You know, in the old days, you only had the newspaper to get your information, so you could put all your goal scorers and scores closer to the top. But we got to move it around now and make it more of a feature, if that makes any sense. So
a little bit.
Yeah. So you don't
like the feature is like the catch. It's like, is that what you're trying to say?
Well, it'd be let's say if you were playing in that game that I interviewed you, maybe I
wasn't playing, but I was on the bench. I was there though.
Or if this happened, right? It'd be maybe I'd build that story around you. Okay, you know, Justin gets his first chance in preseason game or whatever it is. And here's how it went, and by the way, this is everything else that happened in the game.
Okay.
So you could kind of work. It's a little bit flipped than the way it used to be, because back when I first started, you always had to have the score up in the first paragraph or two, and then all the goal scorers and goaltender stats, because people hadn't seen it before. But now that a lot of that's on the internet, so it's a little different now.